Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah.
I just can't help myself. I have to talk. I'm sorry. I wanted to share just a couple of thoughts with you based on what has been presented today. The NRA class that Mr. Schnelling was talking about, I was elected to become the judge and took office in 2009. I had never shot a handgun ever, and I thought I needed to have one. And I got one, and I was scared to death of it. And I took one of those NRA classes, and it was the best thing I ever did. Gave me confidence, gave me knowledge, and I can't recommend it highly enough. So if you haven't taken one, even if you've shot a gun, you need to take that class because it gives you confidence in your firearm. Another thing that was talked about by law enforcement was the registration of your guns, and Indiana is not a registration state. I can't emphasize enough how important it is that you have proof of ownership. If we're in a situation where we have a stolen gun, I have a defendant in my court. If we know the owner of the gun, I'm going to order it returned to the rightful owner. But if we don't know the owner, the gun's going to be destroyed. So if you have guns and one gets stolen, you need to report it first, so then law enforcement can figure out who owns it. And then when it comes down to the disposition of the case, the firearm can be returned to you. There was also some mention about mental health situations. Those are the most dangerous situations to me when a firearm is involved, because you have someone with a mental health issue who is either not taking their medication, has taken their medication and has drank alcohol, and they are delusional and they are hallucinating and they get a firearm. They think somebody is breaking into their house, but they're not, and they shoot outside and the neighbors are there, and or they threaten somebody. That is a situation where you have to get that firearm away from that person. And there are statutes that allow a court to order removal of those firearms for a certain period of time, and they're held by the sheriff until that person can get stable. If they don't get stable, they don't get the firearms back. And I think the Second Amendment is very important, but when you're dealing with somebody who is not thinking clearly, we need that protection in place. And as a final note, I deal with a lot of constitutional rights. I have the Fourth Amendment against unreasonable searches and seizures. I deal with a lot. I have the Sixth Amendment right to counsel. Sometimes the Eighth Amendment against cruel and unusual punishment. And there's a lot of variables that go into addressing issues arising from those constitutional rights. In my mind, when you get to the Second Amendment, it's very black and white. Right to bear arms. That's it. You have that right, and it shall not be infringed. I will get, in cases that have been concluded, I will get a request from the state of Indiana to destroy the evidence in the case. If there is a firearm, I will have a hearing. I will give the person an opportunity to come in and say, that's my firearm, I want it back, or I don't want it back, or they don't show up, and then I can do what I want. But I always give a person an opportunity to be heard when it comes to potentially taking their firearm away. So, are there any questions for me? Yes, sir, in the back.
Yeah, I had the opportunity 9 years ago to address the UN the General Assembly of the UN regarding when they started the issues related to the Small Arms Treaty. It has now been passed by the UN, and our government is planning to sign that. Mr. Obama is planning to sign that key component of that that could end up stripping us of our Second Amendment rights. Could you comment regarding the impact of international treaties on the United States Constitution? Because a lot of people don't realize that a treaty can usurp rights of individuals.
I may be the eternal optimist, but I do not think that our rights under the United States Constitution will be usurped by a treaty. I think there are too many fundamental constitutional people who are interpreting our Constitution, and they won't let that happen. Maybe I'm an optimist, but I don't think it will.